The story opens in the tense, humming medical bay of the Corvosian research station, where alien physicians are locked in a desperate struggle to save a dying Drerer warrior, Threk, the crimson-scaled protector who once shone with fierce brilliance. Now he lies limp on the surgical table, his once vibrant scales faded to an ashen dullness. Genesis and her younger brother Thomas watch helplessly from the observation window as 3 Corvosian doctors retreat from the table, their bowed heads signaling a gesture Genesis has seen before, the universal sign of giving up. Dr. Velera, their lead physician, announces that the toxin ravaging Threk's body has rewritten his neural pathways beyond anything their millennia-advanced medicine can counter. The news hits the siblings hard, especially Genesis, who still remembers how Threk saved them just 3 days earlier on the planet's southern continent, taking blow after venomous blow from void serpents to protect strangers he'd barely known. Hearing Velera list the treatments they've already attempted, every antivenom in the galactic archive, full cellular regeneration attempts, even quantum purification, makes the reality even harsher. The Corvoxians' medical science stands 1,000 years beyond Earth's capabilities, yet even they acknowledge defeat. As Threk's vital monitors slow, each beep stretching longer than the last, Genesis feels hope draining away. But Thomas doesn't. In a moment of quiet intensity, he whispers a single word, "No," and in that small word lies a stubborn, all-too-human refusal to accept the unacceptable. When he starts walking toward the medbay door, Genesis tries to stop him, reminding him that nothing more can be done. But Thomas's eyes reveal something entirely new, absolute, immovable determination. As the machines power down and the doctors begin preparing for death, Thomas makes his choice. If Threk gave everything to protect them, then he refuses to do nothing while the warrior fades. With that, the foundation of the story is set, the collision between advanced alien science and the irrational, unexplainable human spirit about to make it stand. Thomas cycles through the airlock before Genesis can stop him, entering the medical bay with the quiet resolve of someone who has already made peace with whatever price must be paid. The Corvosian physicians turn in surprise as he approaches the dying warrior. Dr. Velera urges him gently to leave, saying that Threk deserves a peaceful passing, but Thomas ignores her and walks to the Dragoner's side. Even in his weakened state, Threk's massive body dwarfs the teenager. His eyes are half closed, his internal membranes clouded with pain, and his breaths come in shallow, ragged gasps. Genesis follows her brother into the chamber, terrified but unwilling to abandon him. Thomas places both hands over Threk's main heart node and simply says, "Humans don't give up." Velera protests that this isn't a heroic tale, but reality, and that death comes for all beings. Thomas only replies, "Maybe, but not today." What follows is a profound shift, not of technology or medicine, but of presence. Thomas leans closer, whispering to the unconscious warrior, reminding him of the void serpents, of the sacrifice he made, of how he never abandoned them. And now, Thomas refuses to abandon him. Minutes pass in silence, except for the slowing beeps of the monitors. Then Genesis notices at first, a faint brightening in Threk's scales, like color returning to an old image. The Corvosian doctors rush to their instruments. Readings spike, neural collapse is slowing. The toxin's advance is reversing. Velera is stunned. They've done nothing new. Nothing except Thomas. The medbay fills with something no scanner can quantify, a raw, human force of will. Thomas's breathing synchronizes with Threk's failing heartbeat, matching the rhythm as though anchoring him. Sweat beads down his forehead, but he refuses to move. His whispered words, "You're not alone, fight," carry more power than any alien device. And the impossible begins to happen. Neural pathways regenerate. Biological systems stabilize. Quantum-level readings shift in ways Velera can't explain. The Corvoxians witness something that challenges their deepest assumptions, the idea that human determination itself can interact with alien biology, pushing life forward when logic says it should end. The regeneration accelerates until even the monitors can barely keep pace. The doctors watch, stunned, as the toxin retreats from Threk's system. The warrior's chest rises with deeper breaths, the ashen dullness melting away, replaced by faint crimson glimmers. 30 minutes after Thomas first placed his hands on the warrior's chest, Sthrek's eyes open fully. They find Thomas immediately. Through the translator, Sthrek speaks in a weak but strengthening rumble. "You stayed." The boy, exhausted, shaken, tears streaming down his face, smiles and repeats the same words he whispered before. "I'm here." To him, this was never about heroism. It was simply honoring the debt of loyalty Sthrek had earned. Genesis watches her brother with awe. The Corvosian doctors gather around, scanning the revitalized warrior. Veller's readings show the toxin in full retreat and biological systems normalizing. She calls it unexplainable, but everyone in the room knows what they witnessed. The impossible made real through sheer, human refusal to surrender. Sthrek raises a massive, clawed hand and envelopes Thomas's much smaller one. He acknowledges what the entire galaxy will soon learn, that humans, for all their comparative weakness and lack of advancement, possess something rare and formidable. Not strength, not superior intellect, something deeper. Presence, will, loyalty, a refusal to abandon those who matter. Humanity's greatest force isn't science or weaponry. It's the raw, irrational insistence on fighting for life even when all logic insists it's over. The medbay becomes still, reverent. The Corvosian doctors realize their understanding of life, medicine, and consciousness must expand. Genesis sees her brother anew, no longer just a teenager, but a symbol of what humanity brings to the stars, a spirit that elevates others around it. Sthrek lies stabilized now, his scales regaining color, his breath steady. And everyone in the room understands that they have witnessed history, a moment when a dying warrior returned to life, not because of superior science, but because a human refused to let go. As Sthrek continues stabilizing, the medical bay transitions from crisis to awe. Thomas finally collapses into a chair, completely drained but triumphant. Genesis places a steadying hand on his shoulder, seeing in him the embodiment of a truth far greater than either of them ever understood before this day. The Corvosian doctors gather their instruments and data, speaking in hushed tones. What they witnessed will reshape the Galactic Medical Archive. It challenges the idea that healing is purely biological or technological. Something in Thomas, his emotional connection, his unwavering loyalty, his sheer refusal to abandon a friend, seemed to operate at a quantum level, influencing Strek's biological systems in ways even their 1,000-year advanced science could not replicate. Genesis realizes the larger meaning. This is humanity's true strength. Not weapons, not intelligence, not advancements. It is the unbreakable human spirit, irrational hope, stubborn loyalty, and the instinct to fight for those who matter. Strek's recovery becomes the living testament. The warrior, now fully conscious, grips Thomas's hand and declares that humans fight death itself with presence and loyalty, making them more formidable than many warrior races. His words will travel far. Genesis sees in that moment the birth of a new understanding across the galaxy. Humanity's value isn't measured in ships or technology, but in heart. As Strek's vitals fully stabilize, the doctors stand in silent reverence, knowing they witnessed a miracle powered not by machines, but by will. Thomas whispers to Sthrek one last time, "I'm here," the same words that anchored the warrior to life. And Genesis hears in those two words the battle cry of their entire species, a declaration that will echo across the stars for generations. Humanity may be fragile, may be young, may be unadvanced, but their greatest weapon is older than civilization itself. They never give up. They never stop fighting for those they care about. And in a galaxy defined by cold logic and advanced science, that stubborn, beautiful refusal to surrender may be the force that changes everything.